So we're going to focus on this second verse here. I've separated the region for the second verse, and all I have to do to get it in is literally just send it to the track that I want and hit capture audio. And it just immediately sends it right over. Like, it takes a split second. So, it's a small thing, but like not having to wait to track in, I think is really great. So one quick little tip that I'll say before starting this is when doing the session in Revoice, Revoice is kind of like its own DAW. And so taking a 2-track of the instrumental, or in this particular case, because it's just solo piano, just the solo piano in as a reference track is really helpful. And now I can do all of my work in here, which makes the process super, super easy. So I'm going to play this down a little bit.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off, and not knowing what you're up to tortured me.
So those first 2 lines are really, really bad. Let's hear the rest.
Now this might be a mistake, we're broken in so many ways, but I'll piece us back together slowly.
So on the second half there, the first line in particular has not only some really pitchy notes, but also the harmonies are deliberately out of time. I mean, I messed it up when I did it, but I was like, okay, let's keep it because this will be good for experimenting with Revoice and seeing how effective it can be. So let's start working on the lead here. A quick thing that I also really like about this is the layout has this immediate supersize me, and I think that's really, really convenient for getting a really good visual. I'm also going to just mute up the harmonies for now so that they're not getting in my ear as I'm trying to make decisions. I'm going to make these harmonies conform to my lead and not the other way around. So that's generally the best way to do it, in my opinion. Okay, so let's get this lead going.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off.
So lost is horrible. The first 2 notes are a little off, but not crazy. Okay, cool. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to select my scale. It's automatically detected the scale, but I also happen to know that it is A major, so, that adds up 1 to 1 here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select adjust pitch, time, and level. And it scans it in immediately. Again, no need to track or anything like that. I can also hold down Shift, Option, Command, and this allows me to do this kind of progressive resizing, which I think is super useful. And then very thoughtful, if I just take my finger off the Option key, it then allows me to do drag scrolling. And obviously, this is something where the people who designed this just knew that that was going to be super helpful. It took me a second to get used to that kind of zoom control, but once I got used to it, it was like the best thing ever. So the next thing I can do is I can hit Option W, and that's going to conform the pitch centers to where it thinks it should go. I think that this is generally a good starting place overall. Sometimes you have to be a little careful about it thinking that the note is somewhere else. I think this is kind of true in all pitch correction software, but, it is what it is. Here, let's go back to A major. Yep. Add, save. There we go. So now it's going to highlight, it's going to remove the name of the notes, but it still is going to allow me to move to notes, which is important because sometimes we want to use notes that are not necessarily in key. Those are called accidentals, and they can be really nice moments for like blues tones and things like that. So let's jump back over here now that we've done the automatic correction and see how things sound. Well, hear how things sound.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off.
So it's definitely better, but we need to do a little bit of work here. So the first thing that I'm really noticing is that the tone doesn't feel very strong in these first 3 notes. It's correct, but it's not strong, so I might want to do something to reinforce that. Also, this note lost here is just crazy sounding. I'm going to try and work with it a little bit more sophisticated here by splitting the regions up and see if I can get something that's a little bit more solid to the pitch. So let's drag this. And try and get something conjoined, and then start with something where it's all on the right pitch.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the
So definitely better. We're going to revisit in a second. I think these three notes, I'm going to just do the brute force method.
I didn't notice what I'd lost.
And then I'm going to do a little bit of work up here. I'm going to take the drift, kind of control it a little bit. That doesn't seem to be grabbing the note, visually at least. But now I'm going to hit V, and I'm going to go into the shaper tool. And this is kind of like, this is one of the best things ever, where I can click on a single point and create a shape, and then conform this way.
I didn't notice what I'd lost.
So let's remove that very last thing I did, create another point, bring that down a little bit. Let's tighten up these notes here. Doing this a little. Get that out of the way. Pull that down a little.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all...
Getting better. I like this shaper tool quite a bit. I think that it's a little bit more effective than just doing a drag pitch center because it gives me a finer control over things.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off, and not knowing what... I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights...
Nice. Okay, so here I'm going to pull this down a little bit because this sharpness here is a little bothersome to me. Just the entrance felt a little weird. This one, for whatever reason, like the ending didn't really feel off to me. So I'm just going to let it be because, you know, this is one of those things where manually doing this is a lot more effective because you can start making those more subjective decisions. This one's a little strange. I think I'm going to just tighten the pitch overall.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off.
And then we're going to keep it moving.
What you're up to tortured me.
Okay, so this is an interesting one, this 2, where I kind of do this little wavery thing, not knowing what you're up to. I kind of want to exaggerate that, actually. I sort of like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my shaper tool. And this is why I really like the shaper tool a lot. And I'm going to pick all these points, and I'm going to kind of iron it out in the opposite sense, where I'm going to manufacture a little bit more vibrato.
What you're up to tortured me.
Yeah, I like that a little bit more. Maybe a little less on the front, a little less in the middle.
What you're up to. What you're up to tortured me.
There we go, perfect.
Tortured me. Now this might be a mistake.
So this is off. Okay, so here, I think I actually want to do some time manipulation. I want it to be a sharper transition, so I'm going to stretch this a little bit further this way. I'm going to pull this one a little further back this way.
Now this might be a mistake.
And so it articulates that note a little bit better. I think let's go a little bit further with it.
Now this might be a mistake.
Ooh, let's undo that last one.
Now this might be a mistake.
Nice. Same thing here. I think I want to hold this note a little longer. And I want to make it more of a solid... I want it to hold on the note and then dip down. So I'm going to tighten it up a little as well.
Now this might be a mistake. We're broken in so many ways.
Great, love that.
We're broken in...
We're broken... So that's the wrong note. Oh, yeah, you can even see it.
We're broken in so many ways.
The only question is, should it be broken, broken, same note, or broken in, like going down? I think probably the same note, but
we're broken in.
yeah, that made it easy.
We're broken in. We're broken in so many ways that I'll piece us back.
Ways definitely sounds weird.
We're broken in so many ways that I'll piece us.
It's a little better. Broken in so many ways. So I kind of want to hear like a little vibrato on it, to be honest. Let's see if we can manufacture one.
We're broken in so many ways that I'll piece.
Yeah.
We're broken in so many ways.
Not bad. Let's exaggerate it.
We're broken in so many ways that I'll piece up.
Yeah, it makes it feel a little vulnerable. I kind of like that. That's how I would probably prefer to sing it. I mean, this is one of those things where in the moment I would probably try to recut it for that, but sometimes it's hard to make these decisions in the moment too, to be honest.
That I'll piece us back together slow.
So one of the things that I really like about this also is having it on your own DAW really allows for certain things that are really cool. So I can grab a region here, like I'm struggling with this particular note because it's not sounding right, and play it just repeating, and I can actually move it around and manipulate it as it goes. Yeah, it's reading like it's flat, but it's sounding like it's right when I move it just a little bit flat. So that's a feature that you have to be in a dedicated kind of DAW to do, and I really appreciate that, because whenever I hit a struggle moment and I just do that, it's like I can just tune it manually by ear, and it's so useful.
Together, slow, together, slowly.
As opposed to
together, slow.
Yeah. It's like right in between, maybe even.
Together, slowly.
Nice. There we go.
Slowly.
I like Lee. That sounds really good. This sounds a little loose.
Slowly. Slowly.
Cool. So I think that that is an entire verse. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to it again. This time I'm going to just try and catch anything that might have been left behind.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off. And not knowing what you're up to tortured me.
So there's like a level discrepancy. I get a little bit loud in this entire section, so I can just highlight this whole section here, and I can grab one of these center guys if I zoom in, down a little bit. Okay, so nice and easy fix there.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off, and not knowing what you're up to tortured me.
It's pretty good. Off is a little short in duration, so what I'm thinking is I'll highlight these, I'll join them, M, J, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it a little bit.
We're off, and not.
Yeah, so just so that it holds on that note a little bit longer. It's a pocket thing.
Until all the lights were off, and not knowing what you're up to tortured me. Now this might be a mistake. We're broken in so many ways that I'll piece us back together slowly.
Cool. So I think we have a good lead vocal here. Now, for the rest of the vocals, I'm going to jump over to the mid channel, and pull those open.
And not knowing what you're up to tortured me. Now this might be a mistake, we're broken in so many ways, but I'll piece us back together slowly.
So I'm singing unison the entire time. It's going to make this really, really convenient. So what I'm going to do is, on these mid channels, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to match timing, pitch, and level. And I'm going to first select my guide track, which is going to be now my corrected lead. Then I'm going to grab my 2 mid tracks and I'm going to add those as well. And I'm going to create a new process group so that I can actually see the output. Create new process. Let's go over here and let's go down. We're going to mute these up. We don't really need them anymore. And we're going to continue on down here to our output, right? So this is now our new track. Let's delete that.
I didn't notice what I'd lost until all the lights were off.
So pretty horrible. Let's right click and let's get the settings down. So match to settings. So we're going to use timing. We're going to use pitch. We're going to use smart align. I do wish that it defaulted to this, what I'm setting things up, right here, because I think that it's more useful to have it started this way. And I find mode 3 to be a little bit better sounding, although I'm not really completely sure what the difference between the modes are. It's just a gut feeling, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. We'll worry about high res and advanced later when it comes time to print, because we're going to keep our CPU pretty good. And then with level, or CPU, lighter, and then with level, I'm going to put this kind of in the middle. I think that a little bit of difference between the sides is fine, but getting it a little tighter is going to be pretty good. I also find that this is a little fast on the attack and decay, so I tend to slow them down ever so slightly. But this is going to make for a better general approach to things. So now when I jump in here, let's play it again.
Lights were off, and not knowing what you're up to tortured me. Now this might be a mistake, we're broken in so many ways, but I'll piece us back together slowly.
Now, I just got to pause to say, this is really what sold me here. When you have these unison doubles, doing this by hand takes a while. It takes time. That was so tight and so fast. It sounds so good. I'm absolutely thrilled with the way that sounds. And it took like seconds. It didn't even take long with me explaining everything, which I think sold. Thank you. And I'm probably going to stop it here because I don't think that it's going to be too beneficial to drag this video out infinitely, because I'm going to do another video, one that's designed to be something that can play on the Synchro Arts site. I'll probably have it up on, this this YouTube channel as well. I'm not really sure where the paid video is going to go yet, frankly, but I'm going to make it, and it's going to be more of a thorough guide that's going to go through every single step and everything like that. But let's set this to high res. Let's set this to advanced algorithm. And now the fun part is getting it back in is really easy too. Like everything is just very, very easy, which I really like because the actual job itself is hard. So I'm going to click my lead track here. Let's get out of this. Let's select this, select audio. All right. So I'm back up in here. I'm going to flip back on over to Pro Tools, and all I have to do now, I'm going to go to my Revoiced, and I'm going to now hit render audio, and it renders it. Now I'm going to go down to where my mid audio was, and I'm going to jump back on over to Revoice. I'm going to go down to the matched one, and I'm going to click that, hop back on over to Pro Tools, hit render. Boom, there we go. Actually, I'm going to change I always keep a backup of the original ones on a different playlist. So we're going to change it here. And then we're going to select this, and I'm going to hop back on over to Revoice. I'm going to click this one. And did I say collect? I mean click. Same thing. Going to switch over to a new playlist, and I'm going to render back. So let's go in here real quick. I'm going to mute up the other bits of audio. So none of the dirty audio here. Now I'm going to play this down real quick.
Now this might be a mistake. We're broken in so many ways.
Listen, you might not remember it, but listen to the word might.
Now this might be a mistake.
Now let's go back to the original one real quick.
Now this might be a mistake. We're broken.
The smart align's pretty smart. Listen to how off it is.
Now this might be a mistake. We're broken in so many ways.
You know, not terrible at the end, but pretty terrible throughout. Corrected.
Now this might be a mistake. We're broken in so many ways. But I'll piece us back together slowly.
So I guess the final question is, you know, how do I compare the different pitch correction and editing softwares? You know, what do I think of all of it, right? So we've got our major players here. We've got Auto-Tune, we've got Waves-Tune, we've got Melodyne, and we've got Revoice, and there's a few others. And I would say that as somebody who does this as like a large part of my career, I'm very happy to have all of them. The most direct comparison I would say is probably between Melodyne and Revoice. Auto-Tune I think of as almost a very separate plugin. There is manual correction in Auto-Tune, but frankly, and I'm about to lose the connection where I had a paid sponsorship, but here it goes out the window and it's fine. I don't like the GUI for Auto-Tune when switching to manual mode. I think you can get it to sound really good, but the window and the actual like workflow is so difficult to get down. It ends up just taking too long. But Auto-Tune as an effect, I almost think of it completely separately. I think of it more as like a vocoder in some ways, where like if you just need to kind of quickly throw some gloss on it, or if you're working with an artist where they're very used to singing through Auto-Tune, I think Auto-Tune is not really replaced here by Revoice. I don't think that's the purpose of Revoice or what it really shines with. So you could almost do Revoice and then like throw a really, really gradual Auto-Tune on at the end, although I don't think that this one needs it. And just get a little bit of that auto-tune tone. So the more close comparison would be, in my opinion, Melodyne and Revoice. And there's certain things that I do really still like about Melodyne. I mean, for one, you can do that. You have that DNS option where you can actually target notes within chords that are already recorded together, which I think is crazy cool. It's definitely pretty artifact heavy. You have to be pretty careful with it, but the fact that it can even do it is really amazing. So I'm glad about that. And then there's also these kind of synthesized sort of like weird synthy things that you can do with the harmonic structure of sounds. And I think that that's pretty cool as well. But if we're talking about just general, like practical getting a vocal performance to be the best it can be and really get it to shine, I think that Revoice is just generally better. The workflow feels better to me. I've only been using Revoice for a couple of weeks now, and I'm still learning the controls, but I already feel like it's speeding up my workflow quite a bit, and I could still be even better at it for sure. I think that sonically it's comparable, but maybe even a little better than Melodyne, dare I say it. I think that just the things that you can do with the shaper tool, something I didn't show, the draw tool actually has an incredible vibe to it. I find the draw tool in Waves-Tune, Auto-Tune, Melodyne almost useless because it's so hard to get that precision drawing, but the draw flow is actually really, really good in Revoice, and I love that. I don't use it very frequently, but when you need it, you need it. The shaper tool is like a lifesaver. Being able to pull in the reference track and work in an independent DAW so you can loop things up, I think is just an incredible advantage that makes things so much easier. So for all of those reasons, I think I'm switching officially from Melodyne to Revoice as my primary vocal editing DAW. One sponsorship won, one sponsorship murdered in one sentence. But yeah, so that's my final feelings on it. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a more in-depth video on how Revoice works and how I'm using it. But I'm going to do that separately because this is already going on forever and a half. All right, if you dig this video, hit that like button. If you want to catch more videos like this, hit subscribe with the bell notification so you get notified. And lastly, you know what we say here at Weiss Advice. We are musicians, sound is our instrument, and I will catch you next time.